Right, yep, ready to go, guys. Thanks, Lloyd.
Scott, it's been a very up and down season, but you must be happy to back up last week's win with a consistent forward.
Yeah, it was pretty solid. I mean, the last quarter we tried to, I suppose, shut the game down a little bit. Had 8 shots, missed 7 of them. St Kilda missed a few as well, obviously, but yeah, it was a pretty good performance all in all. We love coming down to Hobart. It's been a long time since we've been down here, and you know, again, nice and cold, but great. You know, southern states winter footy conditions, I thought. So, ground was in perfect condition, and it was good to get away with the win.
Did you find that a pretty complete first quarter? Because it seemed like, you know, Goldstein was top of the ruck, Goodmel with the small forwards, and even your big defenders were getting a lot of the ball as well.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good start to the game. We focused, you know, a lot on that, as we do every week. But I mean, the guys came out, and we knew right from the start the attitude was terrific, and you know, we converted opportunities and looked really good. So, you know, to St Kilda's credit, they put us under pressure in the second quarter, but we stood up to that pretty well, and it was a. You know, we'll review it really closely as we do every game, but I think just gut feel was it was a good, solid performance with areas to improve like every week.
It was a pretty dominant performance by the Tigers today.
Yeah.
He must be right in the top echelon for a ruck at the moment, hasn't he?
Oh, I think he is, yeah. I think he's been terrific, particularly the last 6 or so weeks. He's played against some really good opposition and been pretty dominant. He thrives on the workload, and he's a really important player for us. And when he's on top and giving first use to our inside midfielders, makes them better players and us a better team. So he's been terrific. Another big challenge next week against Warnock, who's a good tap ruckman. So he's just got to continue to build his form leading into the end of the season.
You've got a lot of midfield and sort of flank depth, and I guess over the past year or so, Sam Wright has probably found himself on the wrong end of that, or outside the team. How have you read the match today?
Oh, well, Sam, the opportunity's been there for Sam for the last 4 or 5 years to cement a spot in our best side, and you know, we thought he'd done that a couple of years ago, but this year other players went past him. So we're in a fortunate position where, you know, it's pretty easy for me. The way I describe it is we've got to make some pretty easy decisions, and I've got to have some difficult conversations with players, because at the end of the day, players like Sam either pick themselves or they don't. And we've got a lot of pressure for spots now as we start to get some players back from injury as well. But I think Jacobs last week, Wright this week, have had their opportunity, and I think pretty largely have taken them. You know, Sam was terrific again today on a player we really rate in young Jack Billings, and you know, I thought he shut him out of the game and got a lot of the ball himself.
Were you fearful of a flat spot today after a good performance against Hawthorn, or were you confident the lessons were learned in Brisbane a couple of weeks ago?
To be honest, I didn't think of it that way. I wasn't thinking whether we'd be on or not. We just focus on the process, as boring as that sounds. And, you know, even in poor games this year, we've done some things really well, but we've let ourselves down in areas of games. So, I mean, I don't separate the wins from the losses too much. I even thought last week against Hawthorn we had some passages of play and some periods of play where we weren't very good at all. So we're just trying to strive for perfection in every game, every minute. So you know, that's what we're looking for, and if we get pretty close to that, we get a good result.
Following St Kilda's inaccuracy, but defensively you must have been happy with showing 3 goals for the day from that side.
Yeah, that's one way I look. I mean, I look probably more at scoring shots, because you can't control the opposition's conversion. I mean, you can force them wide and to have long shots, but you can't control whether they kick them or not. So the scoring shots weren't that pleasing from their entries, but I mean, largely we've defended our back 50 really well this year, and been pretty hard to score against once the opposition get it in there, and that continued on to a certain extent today. But you know, we were disappointed, particularly in that second quarter, to let them have so many shots. I think they had 7 shots from 9 inside 50s, which is, you know, a real rarity for us this year.
Scott, what's the situation with Lockie Hansen? Did he cop a concussion? And are you worried about his head knocks with him? Because has he had a few? Am I right?
Yeah, he had one, well documented one 2 years ago, but not too much since then, I don't think. Nothing that comes to mind anyway. But look, our doctor gave me a really detailed explanation of all the intricacies of what was going on with Lockie's knock to the jaw, and really it just needs to be, is he right or not? And he said, well, he's not. So it seemed like a pretty conservative call because the doc wanted more time, but we just made a decision just to, because we had the 20 minutes concussion test, which in time he actually passed and was fine. But we made the call before the 20 minutes was up because we wanted to make our sub anyway, and we just chose to not to take a risk with him. But then, as Murphy's Law says, then Aaron Mullett and Lee Adams hurt themselves. So we didn't have any or much interchange in the last quarter. But as it turns out, Mullett will be fine, and Adams has just got a knock to the knee, which we'll assess on Monday.
So with that, you mentioned to the jaw, does that mean that it was concussion related, or in the end was it just the impact they sort of decided to say?
Well, they were checking his jaw and they needed time to assess him, and that's why the 20-minute concussion rule is in. So we just thought, well, let's take it, seeing as the doc takes the pressure off the doctor to make a quick call. But then, you know, we were into the three-quarter time, and early in the last quarter we said, let's just make the call and sub him off.
And Sam Wright, I guess Levi is another example of a guy who's in his early 20s, had big taste of senior football and sort of gone back a bit and, you know, been out of the team. I know it's early days with Sam, but are you happy with how, I guess, the attitude showed with a few of these guys in this position, that they're not just cracking it and suddenly being out of the team?
Oh, well, they can do that if they like, but they won't get back in. So their attitude's all important. That's why Aaron Mullett came back into the team. I mean, he played well at VFL level last week, but his attitude was first class. But look, all of these, I mean, Sam Wright's played over 70 games now, but he's still learning, and he's got to play the way we want him to play, and he's really clear as to what that is. And you know, he's been terrific the last 2 weeks. So it's not about you know, just gifting guys games. They've got to play the way we expect them to play and the way their teammates want them to play. And if they don't do that, they won't play, because we're never going to get to where we want to be unless those guys toe the line. And Sam and Aaron Mullett in particular have been really. Sam the last 2 weeks and Aaron again today were pretty good for us.
Probably been asked this, you know, about 8,000 times in your career. How did you rate Brent Harvey today?
He played pretty stock standard Brent Harvey game, just better than average. He gets attention every week. Just keeps running, and he's just, yeah, you run out of things to say about Boomy. He just plays the way he plays. I mean, you guys should just wrap him up a bit more, I reckon, instead of criticising him.
Really surprised they sent Montagna to him instead of somebody else.
No, I thought that. Well, I thought it was a pretty good move because it's going to be, you know, Montagna's a very good player. So it was going to be a battle of two champions, and you know, we made a few positional moves that made that hard for them to persist with, because it took Montagna out of the play. But yeah, I mean, the opposition is either going to play a really good player on him in their own right, or they're going to play an absolute dead set tagger. So you know, we're prepared for both scenarios.
It's really good to have that on Wells. Can he play a meaningful part in your season yet, do you think? When do you expect him back?
Well, we're really hopeful of that. I think he'll be. He's running. He had another good running session yesterday, which and he pulled up really well from that today. So a return to play date is really difficult for him. I'm more interested in the return to train, and I think that's not far away. We've got another game next week against Carlton, then a bye. So we've got 3 weeks to try and get him back into full training, and you know, I think that's largely on track, but he's been missing for a long time. So yeah, all we can do is get his running sessions up, get enough work under his belt, get him in full training, and then what will be will be.
And given Jack Siegel was pretty close this week, going on setbacks, will he be back next week, you reckon?
Yeah, it's too early to say. I mean, I thought he was likely this week, and we took a really risk-free approach with him. So you'd think he'd be likely, but you know, having missed 2 weeks now, he's got to train fully during the week to confirm that he's right to play.